Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at DmC Devil May Cry. Pretty excited to be bringing you the first AAA Let's Look at of the year, and Capcom was nice enough to send me a review copy well in advance of the release date. So you can actually see here, unlike most Let's Look Ats, I actually have 10 hours played here. It says that the highest mission unlocked is actually mission 1. That's not true. I've actually beaten the game. To get some stuff off the top here. Beating the game is probably going to take you about 7 to 10 hours, depending on how bad you are. And I've got to admit that this is my first foray into the Devil May Cry franchise since playing the absolutely amazing original on the PlayStation 2 like 10 years ago. I was a big fan of Devil May Cry 1. I played it when I was, an early teen or even an adolescent. I think it came out in 2003, so it was like 10 years ago now. And that game was super goddamn hard. I'm not sure where I stand on Devil May Cry's difficulty, or DmC, I guess I should call it from now on to avoid confusion's difficulty. But I just wanted to say that I missed most of the series after that. So I missed the debacle, supposedly, that was DmC 2, and did not follow DmC 3 or 4, so this is me getting back into things. And I've got some positive things to say about this, I've got some negative things to say about this. I don't think, as we come off the top here, that this is going to be one of the standout releases of 2013, but I also don't think that this is nearly as bad as a lot of kind of overreactionary people on the internet are making it seem like it would be based on the reimagining of the character. In any case, we are just going to start up here by going to some missions. So there are a variety of difficulties in here. Devil May Cry, this part right here at the top, basically just represents like the first 3 difficulties that are actually unlocked for you. Human is the easiest, Devil Hunter is normal, which is what I beat the game on, and I only died like 3 or 4 times over the course of the entire thing, so I would almost say that Devil Hunter is even a little bit too easy for people who have played anything in this genre before. And I'm not particularly good at 3D action games either. Nephilim is going to be the hardest one, and then there's remixed difficulties like Son of Sparta, which means that there's remixed enemy waves and stronger enemies. Basically, you encounter late game enemies earlier to the start of the game, like in the very first mission. There's also Dante Must Die, which is strongest enemies and insane enemy waves, and then some gimmicky types. And of course, these are only unlockable by beating earlier difficulty modes. So you've got to beat Son of Sparta to unlock Dante Must Die, and you have to beat Son of Sparta to unlock Heaven and Hell, and Hell and Hell. So Heaven or Hell is like enemies die in 1 hit, and so do you. Hell and Hell is you die in 1 hit, but enemies have normal health. In any case, we're just going to play on Devil Hunter for now. And these are the missions in the game. So there are 20 missions. And at the end of every mission, you are ranked on a scale from like D to S. Now, a lot of this has been pretty good. I'm not sure why this level's so low. I think this one's really short. But like Hitman, a lot of these levels are not particularly long. I would say that each mission probably averages about 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to a half hour at the very most. But some of them are like half an hour long, and some of them are like 10 minutes long. And there's a lot of cutscenes here. One of the main complaints I have about the game is that there's not enough action. There's so much goddamn cutscene. Let me just think about what we might want to do when it comes to playing here, because I don't want to show off any spoilers, but I also don't want to show off too early on in the game before things really start to happen. So you know what? Why don't we move to Virility. This might be a good map for us to check out. So before we start every mission, I know it's taking me 5 minutes to get into the game here, and I apologize for that. But there are some things that we can do. We could shop, and we can buy upgrades for our weapons. As you can see, there's the new Dante. So we have a variety of weapons. We've got the Rebellion, which is our sword here, as you can see. The Arbiter, which is an axe. The Osiris, which is a scythe. Eryx is like a gauntlet. Aquila, or Aquila, is like these, I don't know, throwing stars almost that we can use. Ebony and Ivory are our pistols, Revenant is a shotgun, and the Kablooey is a grenade launcher that we can remotely detonate. We can also get regular abilities, like just that are innate to Dante as opposed to any of the weapons. But these weapons you unlock over the course of the game. There's kind of like a demonic angelic system related to them. Like heavy weapons are demonic, you need to hold right trigger to use those. And the light weapons like this are angelic, you need to hold the left trigger to use those. Anyway, I've gone on far too long here. Could also buy some items like healing items, which might be a good idea very quickly. Let's just buy a gold orb, which will revive us if we die. And that should be good enough. Anyway, let's start the mission here. We'll wipe all progress on our current mission. That's okay, man, I've already beaten the game. Let's get started. So, one of the other sore spots in this game is, I'm playing the Xbox 360 version, by the way. I should point that out as I get ready to segue into what I was about to say. But this game has some pretty extensive loading times. Luckily, it's usually just like one fat loading time at the start of a mission, and after that, it's relatively good. But I have encountered, within mission loading screens, and sometimes these can stretch as long as 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Or at least it feels like that to me. At least there's some cool animation. I'm going to shut up and let these guys talk. I've got subtitles on too in case you can't hear it very well.
I was here years ago as a child. I explored the whole facility unseen. I sensed a deep demon under the factory. Succubus. An ancient one. I believe it's the source of the psychotropic ingredient. That's what they use to control us.
Welcome, visitors, to the Virility Factory. Virility's secret ingredient is what makes Virility the #1 soft drink in the world. And best of all, it has been scientifically proven to improve weight loss by 21% and enhance sexual performance by 63%.
How do people actually fall for this crap?
If you're told something's true often enough, you tend to believe it. He told me I was crazy for seeing demons.
Yeah. They tried telling me I was a basket case too.
Wanted to put me on drugs. Said it would make me better. They lied. They just wanted to keep me weak. Docile.
How did you figure it all out?
Virgil pulled me out of the nightmare. You?
When the people you're supposed to trust most turn out to be demon scum, your eyes really do open up to evil everywhere. I took a stand, fought back, killed, no matter the consequences. So I chose.
Oh, come on. Who is he? Austin Powers?
And after all that anger, violence, and death, you have to dig deep. Deep into your own heart. To see if you're still sane. Or if you can still call yourself human.
I just knew in my heart I wasn't crazy.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is where the magic ingredients are mixed together to give you the unique taste of virility.
The succubus is hidden deep inside the factory, but there is no physical way to reach it from our world. Only from Limbo. There's a rift inside.
Rest assured that it has been deemed both safe and beneficial by our trustworthy and
Alright, as this cutscene goes on a little bit longer, I am going to just skip... Oh, wow, I don't even need to skip through it. We're already here. So, just as we're going here, I'm going to introduce these characters. This is Dante, and I totally gaffed, basically. I'm using white-hair Dante, which is, you know, spoiler alert, an alternative costume that you unlock for beating the game on normal. And this is Cat, and the basic premise of the game is that this is a retelling of the origin story of Dante. So, basically... Dante was, you know, just living a life of sin, getting blown every night by a bunch of strippers and hookers, basically, drinking all the time. But then this demon hunter came, because Dante is the son of an angel and demon, so he is what's called a Nephilim. And a Nephilim is, according to legend, the only being capable of killing Mundus, who is the demon god of all creation. Hopefully you got that. So, Mundus wants us dead, because we are the only thing that can actually kill him, so in doing so, he has kind of brought about, you know, the potentiality of his own demise here. We also have Kat with us. She is a human who is capable of traversing the rift between the real world and Limbo. This is the real world right here. Limbo is where we're going to be doing all of our fighting. And we've also met our brother Virgil, who is also a Nephilim, and is kind of the Morpheus to our Neo in this situation. He is very much fits that archetype of kind of like learned mentor. Anyway, we're about to get into some combat here. I apologize that this video has taken so long to kind of get into what makes Devil May Cry such a unique experience. Perhaps not this game exclusively, but as a series.
What are you doing here?
Unfortunately, these cutscenes are unskippable. Some of the cutscenes in the game are skippable, but a lot of them are unskippable, which makes, you know, playing through the game for a second time kind of tedious. Like, I played through the first level again on a harder difficulty last night just to mix things up, you know, to see how the game actually gets if you're playing it on a more substantial challenge level. Unfortunately, being unable to skip through the cutscenes made that a very tedious affair. Although there is a lot of incentive to continue playing through the game a second time over, because you gain new abilities as you go that are going to make it possible for you to basically get higher and higher scores, because you can get higher completion. Something that I kind of dislike about the game's design philosophy is you actually have to replay it more than one time in order to get like 100% accomplishment, or in order to get the highest possible score, because there are hidden objects that are only capable for, or you're only capable of getting them with upgrades that you've gotten from later levels. Like those weapons that you saw, I have them all now because I'm playing through the missions for a second time, but On your first playthrough of the game, you would only have like your pistols, your sword, the scythe, and the axe by now, I think. You might have the gauntlets, although this is still very early. This is only about a quarter of the way through the game. And this is the game's first like really big, overarching mission, I would say. It's also one of the first boss fights we're going to encounter.
Dante?
Down here.
Oh, good.
You're right. It's a lot bigger here in Limbo. What next?
Head back to the mixing room. I'll meet you there.
Obesity, stupidity, drink virility.
Alright, so we are going to get started finally playing Devil May Cry here. Again, I am playing as Dante. We're going to get into some combat soon, but the first thing I want to talk about is one of the things that is going to make this game perhaps different from your expectations, depending on the way that you came into this. I think I might be discovering a hidden path here. There is a lot of action in Devil May Cry, or DmC, for sure. However, there's also a ton... Oh, that was awful. There are also a ton of jumping puzzles like this. I would say it's not necessarily a full 50-50 split between combat and jumping puzzles. That would be a little bit unfair to the game. But every level has, you know, a significant chunk of it that is dedicated to basically jumping between platforms, which, depending on your affinity for the combat in Devil May Cry, might be something that strikes you as a little bit weird. I certainly thought it was weird, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this game is supposed to be about slaughtering demons in badass ways, and I was spending most of my time jumping about like a kind of angsty Mario. Obviously, the elephant in the room that I haven't really touched on yet is whether or not, you know, this new reimagined Dante is as much of a ponce, basically, as the internet has made him out to be so far. Okay, I guess this is the right way to go. We've got an automatic checkpoint system. Finally, we're going to get into some combat here. So, in classic Devil May Cry style, the combat is actually really good. This is definitely the strong suit of the game. As I mentioned, one of the sore spots is the fact that there's simply not enough combat. Yes, I can get to him right away. So as we're fighting here, we have a variety of weapons that we can switch between on the fly. So B is going to be our standard launcher. By using right trigger and left trigger in combination with some of our other buttons, we can do a variety of moves that will either pull enemies towards us, a la this right here, or we can do moves that will pull us towards enemies, like so. And this is what really allows us to take care of the flying enemies as quickly as possible. So I think that's going to be it with respect to that waves. Enemies come in waves. Oh, I almost rolled off the edge there. And we're also collecting some stuff here, but I'll talk about that in a second. In the meantime, I'm just trying to possibly find some secrets here, because there might be trapped souls at some point that will help us out. I always want to reload after I finish like a wave in Devil May Cry 2. Devil May Cry as well, I should say, not Devil May Cry 2. So yeah, I really like the combat in the game. I think it's fluid and frenetic and frantic for the most part. And the ability to switch between weapons on the fly is really neat as well. Is this a trapped soul? What is this? Am I just busting down crates for no reason? Maybe there's alternate paths to get through the level here. I'm not sure. But yeah, the combat works really well. I'm just disappointed that we've been playing this level for like 5 minutes and we've only had one wave of combat. I was gonna say 15 minutes, but you know, let's be fair. We only recently... Oh, I botched that hard. But yeah, I still almost made it in, but I only recently actually got into the actual gameplay of the level. So for being 100% fair to the game itself, again, that was abysmal. There we go. Got to use the grappling hook. So this kind of mixture of, you know, action and, like, well, combat specifically, and jumping puzzles is something that I found a little bit jarring. What I want out of a Devil May Cry game is not this, like, kind of weird grappling hook type action. It's more... Oh, that's not good. It's more, you know, just straight out balls out combat that I want for the most part. So we are dealing with a variety of different enemies here, and I hate to say it, Devil May Cry, or DmC, almost has a Gianna Sisters type mechanic, where red enemies can only be hurt by red weapons, which is like our demonic weapons. You're seeing our axe there, but we can also take out our gauntlets just by switching on the D-pad, which is very easy. And of course, the demonic enemies can only be hurt by demonic weapons, even though it feels like it maybe should be the opposite. Can I knock him into the sky, please? Similarly, the demonic weapons just do more damage overall anyway. That's pretty abysmal of me. I'm getting pretty terrible combat ranks. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I just want to F this dude's day up by busting him down with these sweet gauntlets. I'm going to move away here. Is that guy still alive? God damn it, he is. I actually kind of prefer the axe most of the time. That was a good dodge, so that's going to give us an increased damage bonus. Oh, get out of there, Dante! Did I kill him? I guess I did kill him. Also, there are hundreds and hundreds of those cutscenes in the game where Dante just looks at the screen in the middle of combat, and you're like, oh, come on, dude. I just want to fight something. I don't want to see your ugly mug looking at the screen all the time. We are actually ranking fairly well in the combat now. These guys are super annoying to deal with, but we're going to try to take out the lesser enemies first. Again, that special dodge there is an ability that I have unlocked. Oh, get out of there. I hate flying units. Those are the guys who are going to bust up your combo. The main thing with normal is that you're not going to be worried too much about dying. Like, the game is fairly easy on normal, at least, you know, coming from a Dark Souls perspective. I hate to compare every third-person action game to Dark Souls, because not every game is striving to do the same things that Dark Souls did. However, it's kind of inevitable when you have a game with a fairly similar aesthetic, and a little similar style as well. So we're just going to pull this guy down. Might be able to get to triple S here. Nah, I guess I'll be contented with double S. But yes, substantial amount of basically just looking at the fucking screen, which is annoying a lot of the time. I remember this being super hard to get. These green balls are health, by the way. Red is currency, which is a little weird to get. Green health, red currency. But you get used to it fairly quickly. There's a green one right here that we could just take instead. I forget what I was talking about a second ago as I came in here. But yeah, I just want, like, balls-to-the-wall combat from a Devil May Cry game. And again, the combat in this game is definitely its strong suit. The only problem is, there's long stretches of the game where you don't have too much combat. Either you're dealing with, you know, jumping puzzles or substantial amounts of cutscenes. There's probably at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of cutscenes in the 10 hours that I've played so far. So we do have an upgrade. That's the white token that you can see there. On normal, playing through one time was enough to basically get all the upgrades I could possibly want. We might as well get level 2 of Judgment, because I use that all the time on the Arbiter. But, yeah, suffice it to say, another thing I'm not sure how I feel about this, actually. I was going to say that I'm disappointed in, but, oh, we got to bust this thing down. We'll just use our shotgun for now. We might as well mix up the weapons here, because they're all fairly well balanced. But that's one of the things I kind of dislike, is that you have access to all weapons at all times, at least, you know, past like the 75% marker in the game. So that's where we need to go, by the way. In case you couldn't tell by the way the camera, you know, suggestively led us there. Gonna cut these dudes up. Bring this guy back down here. Once you learn to use your grappling hooks, the flying enemies are really easy to deal with. But yeah, I dislike how... And I can't remember if this is what the original Devil May Cry was like, because it's been, again, like 10 years since I played it. But I dislike how you don't kind of have to choose a weapon path. Instead, you have all weapons available at your disposal. And, you know, in some ways, I suppose that's sort of cool. That you can basically, on the fly, just mix up, you know, 7 or 8 different weapons in a single fight if you wanted to. However, I kind of wish that the upgrade trees were a little bit more substantial so that you kind of had to commit to one combination. Like, normally I'm a sword and pistol kind of guy myself. And I would have liked the opportunity to get more and more damage on my swords and pistols rather than spreading the upgrades among a number of weapons that I really never felt the need to use. So we are going to have some asshole enemies to deal with in this room, if I remember correctly. You can tell by the checkpoint that just loaded into the top right. Right, so now we have both a Frost Knight and a Demon Knight. Frost Knight can freeze us, or... Oh! He's frozen! How did he get the thing out? The Frost Knight can only be hurt by... angelic attacks. Again, it seems weird that the white enemies can only be hurt by white rather than the opposite way, but I don't know. You know. Again, the Gianna Sisters mechanic, as I've colloquially referred to it as. We're just gonna... I'm keeping the one dude busy for now while I bust up this man's shields. I got frozen and hit by some lava, so this is not going too well for me so far. But you can take a lot of punishment, and there actually are a lot of, like, fail-safes involved to make sure that you don't die too often. There's those gold orbs that I bought earlier that you can see. There we go. Those gold orbs basically mean if you die, you can just continue from where you start. There's also some health upgrades that you can get, or health consumables that you can get. I can just keep this guy busy like so for 100 years if I want to. And that was super easy. So with him dead, we are going to move on. I don't necessarily want to show off the boss fight. I might. The boss fights in the game are another strong suit. There's some really good boss fights, 2 in particular, that are really like large scale and unique boss fights, like the kind of environments that I've never seen in a game before in my life, and I really appreciate that. The problem again is that they just don't come that often. Again, there's only like 2 of them that really blew me away over the course of this like 10-hour game. But overall, I mean, I've said a few negative things. about my impressions. I don't want to use that. There we go. I've said a few negative things about my impressions of Devil May Cry or DmC so far. Overall, I don't think this is a bad game. I think this is a pretty decent game. I haven't even talked about Dante yet. You know, I'll get into that. And I'm also going to be posting a more scripted type review, or like a condensed version of my thoughts that you guys will be able to see on the channel, hopefully at exactly the same time that this is actually up. But yeah, suffice it to say, I don't think this is a bad game. Like, I don't think this is a 4 out of 10 or anything like that. It's more in like the 7 range, I would say. It's a little bit disappointing given that, you know, my history with the franchise is only, you know, the original Devil May Cry, which is one of the best character action games ever created by basically any metric. Oh, chainsaw dude. Oh, I totally F'd with him. Awesome. Can I kill him? Double S is pretty good. Now, if I can just not get hit here, we could possibly get a triple S rating, which would actually give me an achievement that I have never gotten thus far. Oh, no, get out of there! Oh, now I'm down to a B and a D. So yeah, getting hit really affects your score, as you might expect. There are achievements for beating the game without taking or beating the levels without taking any damage as well. Beating the game without taking any damage would be pretty goddamn remarkable, just because there's so many flying things that can hit you at once. I'm sure someone will do it eventually, though. And again, I mean, the game's not all that difficult on normal. There were very few parts in the game where I felt like I was stuck for any point in time, and mostly that was just like kind of gimmicky boss fights where I kind of missed out on the mechanic necessary, if that makes sense, in order to win. A lot of the boss fights, not a lot, but some of the boss fights in the game are based on, I'm back in the S ranking, that's surprising, are based on gimmicks, like you gotta do a set pattern to defeat the boss, or use a set ability to defeat the boss, which is not necessarily the kind of design that I like a lot of the time, but it's rare enough that it's okay. Game's pretty mature too. Alright, get the shotgun out. Shotgun can destroy these things very quickly. Excellent. And that's gonna be good for us. I haven't even talked about Devil Mode either, which is that purple meter that's under our health up there, but we'll probably see that as we move forward. I can't remember necessarily which way we are to go. You know what, maybe I will do the boss fight here. Just because I think it makes a nice kind of bookend to this video to do a boss fight as well. So a lot of people are going to be curious about my thoughts. Is there an enemy here? Maybe? Oh yeah, there is. A lot of people are going to be curious on my thoughts on Dante. Like, Dante used to be kind of like a brooding badass, and now he seems like more of a punk-ass teenager in this. To a certain extent, I think that's true, but I'm not sure how much it is that Dante has changed into kind of an insufferable asshole. And like, what I'm trying to get at is, I'm not sure how much he's changed versus how much I've changed since I played the original Devil May Cry. Because, you know, as an adolescent, that was terrible. I thought Dante was super cool, obviously. But now that I'm an adult, I might go back to the original Devil May Cry and think that, you know, this dude's kind of just an idiot, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm not sure how much of it is Dante's changed and how much of it is that I've changed. But suffice it to say, do we have enemies here again? Sometimes it takes too long for the enemies to spawn in my opinion. Suffice it to say, Dante is probably the most divisive part of this game. And possibly, in many times, the most annoying part of this game as well. Like, he seems to have, he's that archetype, or archetypical character where he's basically like, why would I give a shit about humanity? Herp de derp de derp, alcohol, women, whatever, herp de derp. Like, he's almost, again, the Matrix, I'm not going to use that key just yet. Actually, you know what, maybe I will, because I'll get a chance to talk about the challenge levels in the game. Yeah, why not? Every once in a while you come across these doors, and when you open them you get access to challenge levels. If you complete the challenge levels, you get a collectible. If you get 10 of the collectibles, I believe, you can upgrade your max health by 10%, which is valuable. But anyway, yeah, Dante is just like, I don't give a shit about mankind. Herp de derp, almost like Neo from the Matrix, but a more brash and kind of like juvenile version. Argent, display skirmish, kill all enemies within the time limit. Enemies only take damage from within the active zones. Alright, so I've done several of these before. I shouldn't probably have just run into that guy's chainsaw, is my guess. But yeah, I've done several of these challenge missions before. And a lot of them have been fairly easy so far. This one seems a little bit more difficult. I keep getting hit by these Resident Evil 4 motherfuckers. The problem is that this active zone is so fucking tiny. I'm not even sure. Okay, where is it now? Okay, just relax. Active zone is huge. I think it shrinks as we go. That might be it. So we have 1 minute and 44 seconds here. The other ones I've done, there's been some that have just been like straight platforming challenges. Like jumping puzzles, basically. And those are the easiest. There have been some where it's like, the enemies only take damage in the air, those are easy as well, because you spend most of your time doing damage in the air regardless. All you really do on the ground for a lot of these guys is launch them. And I'm not even sure if I'm doing damage to them when I launch them in the air. Or I'm not sure if I'm doing damage to them while they're in the air, above the active zones. I think I'm going to fail this one, believe it or not. That was not necessarily good. Gotta get these chainsaw guys out of the way, and then I can really just go to town on the other guys, I think. Although I find it kind of unlikely that we're going to succeed here. Alright, now I got crazy damage because I did that devil dodge there. Might allow us to cut these dudes up pretty good. You know, with only 4 enemies left, if I come over here and kind of get them all in a row, and then just use this attack. Come on, get a little closer, please. Yeah, then just use this attack. It's possible that I might be able to kill them a little bit more effectively. Oh, they're outside of the active zone. There's a big one over here. Come on, please! We can do this! I definitely need those other 2 guys to follow me. Well, it's kind of hard when the AI just, like, tells them to stand still for so long. We're going to fail this one. That was pretty abysmal. I'm not going to retry that. I'm just going to continue on with the game. But as I was saying, yeah, Dante is pretty annoying and pretty juvenile. It's the kind of character that annoys me because he has, like, no concept. Yes, quit secret mission. He has no concept of, like, the gravity of a situation or the weight of a situation. So he'll be like... He just discovers, like, in the second mission, he's like, oh, Sparta, this demon, is my father, and Eva, this angel, is my mother. And then immediately after, he gets, like, a grappling hook, and he's like, fuck yeah, or something like that. And I'm like, oh, dude, you just had this, like, mind-blowing revelation, and you're excited about this, like, angel grappling hook? I mean, I get it, angel grappling hook, that's pretty boss, but like, the game has stark tonal shifts, basically, where it's like, You're expected to, like, feel something for Dante, and then immediately after, you're like, why would I ever feel anything for this piece of garbage? He's, like, the most annoying person that's ever existed in video game history. So I think a lot of people are going to be annoyed by Dante. Largely, I'm, like, incapable or unqualified of, talking about how this fits into, you know, Dante's character evolution. But suffice it to say, the story itself is fairly, by the numbers. It's pretty conventional. It has the feel of a lot of movies that, you know, again, when I was an adolescent, I thought were awesome. Like, it's really heavy-handed in the way that it deals with themes. It's like, oh, soda's evil, TV news is evil, etc., etc. What if Bill O'Reilly was actually a demon and they're actually feeding us, like, demon propaganda all the time? It reminds me of almost like the lizard people conspiracy theory. But also, you know, the same kind of revelations that a high 16-year-old has when he's talking with his friends. Like, man, soda's just designed to keep us fat and stupid and, you know, in the hands of the man. Yeah, I get it, you know. You know, I've seen movies like this before. Also, what in the shitting hell is going on? Again, I'm trying to skip the cutscene here because I don't want to show off too many spoilers. But again, this is so early in the game. And this is like the only boss fight in the game that sort of doesn't deal with a major character. So I think this is probably the best boss fight to show off. We're going to show off a little bit more combat. By this point, hopefully you're getting a little bit more of a feel for, you know, what I said before, which is basically that the combat is fun. By far, the strongest point of this game is the kind of frenetic and frenzied combat. Unfortunately, it just comes too little. Like, there's so many cutscenes. That dodge is really important if you want to get, like, your S ranks up, because it allows you to do so much damage. There's so little combat relative to other stuff in the game that it's really, really annoying. I can't imagine what they were thinking in the game design. If this game was like 6 hours long instead of 8, and featured maybe like 50% more combat, I think people would like this a great deal more. But because it's so kind of heavy-handed and it forces you to pay attention to the story most of the time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm sure a lot of people are into the Devil May Cry story. It makes it kind of a worse product for people who are not diehard fans of the franchise, and in some ways I think makes it a little bit less accessible to new fans, despite being an origin story. I think if you don't care about the Devil May Cry story, it's going to be harder and harder for you to enjoy this game. Again, I'm so sick of that little miniature cutscene of Dante, like, looking at the camera. Again, he's hilariously clever, as you can see. These guys, I mean, when it comes to enemies, it's another sore spot that I have with the game a little bit. The enemy design is okay. Most of the time I like it a little bit, or I like it enough anyway. However, there's just not enough. Wow, triple S rank. That's the first time I've ever gotten that. Most of the time the enemies are just like there's not enough enemy types. There's only like 7 or 8 enemy types maybe throughout the entire game, and some of those you only see a few times. So you learn the patterns of the enemies pretty quickly, and they do get more difficult as you move along, but you know, I mean, once you kind of memorize the patterns for the enemies, it's fairly easy to deal with them. The increasing challenge comes from A, adding more health on the enemies, and B, the most important part is just adding more and more enemies as time goes on, which is what makes the game substantially more difficult, of course. So at the end of every mission, you do get ranked. That was a mission of typical length, I would say, although I died probably more than usual on those jumping puzzles. And the mission composition was fairly combat heavy, which is not unusual, but is perhaps not as normal as I would like. So I got an S rank here. I'm actually playing on Kate's gamertag right now, so I'm not going to go to the leaderboards because I'm worried that she'll just get inundated with people adding her. But in any case, we're just going to go to the next mission. S rank is pretty good, but it's not, you know, going to break the bank. I actually ranked, I mean, it's pre-release, so take this with a grain of salt, but I ranked #1 on one of the missions, which is pretty exciting. But obviously, you know, ranking 1 in a mission on Devil May Cry, I can cross it off the bucket list, but as soon as Monday or Tuesday rolls around, if not earlier, that score is going to fall by the wayside. So we're going to go next mission, which should just be the boss fight here. And I apologize to, you know, Capcom PR if you're watching this and you don't want this boss fight spoiled. Unfortunately, I think it's a necessary part of the game, and you should be pleased because after kind of railing against the game a little bit in this level, I'm going to come to its defense to a certain extent. Because I really do feel like the boss fights are a very strong part of this game. There's not very many. There's maybe 4 true boss fights over the course of the game. Maybe 5. Because they come with a little bit more density towards the end of the game, as you might expect. But the boss fights are definitely the strength. Like, the most memorable levels in this game. And believe it or not, as much as I've said that this is like an average or decent game, there are some truly, like, remarkable, memorable levels in this game when it comes to boss fights. They're super effing weird, which is cool. I like when the game does that, as opposed to just sticking to the same kind of, like, early 2000s era nu metal type aesthetic. Anyway, so basically the premise of what's going on right now, again, Kat is kind of a witch to a certain extent, or she has a mastery of Wiccan spells. So she's able to kind of control the realm that we are in to a certain extent by using these powders made of, like, desiccated squirrel semen. Now, there is an achievement on this one, too, which I might try to get. We have to get to the end of the level within 2 minutes, which is easy enough. But we could just sprint, or we could do what I'm actually going to do and try to fight every single enemy that we come across, which shouldn't take too long, because these guys, like these Stygians here, are very easy to deal with, provided I take them out in the fastest way possible, which is usually just launch and then combo. We're going to do some jumping puzzles here. Also, the other thing that shows up all the time... Oh, that was not good. The other thing that shows up all the time in this game that you might not expect is... Well, maybe you would expect it. I don't know. Is the... What am I doing wrong here? One second. I got to focus. No commentary for now. Oh, it actually just took me to the next section. Thank you. Is this, like, trope where at the end of every level, like Limbo, which is the realm that we're in right now, is like a living, breathing entity that hates us, and it just turns against us and is like, fuck you, Dante, and then just starts, like, closing in on itself. The number of times that I've run away from crumbling scenery in this game is truly remarkable. Again, a host, we've almost got more, like, jumping abilities than we have... This is going to be a little bit more difficult. We've got more abilities that help us beat jumping puzzles than we have abilities that help us kill enemies, which is kind of unexpected, you know, given the nature of this game. We've got a few more enemies down here, but I believe this is the... Oh, it's not the final area, so hopefully we'll be able to kill these guys quickly. I mean, it's going pretty well so far. I mean, I could always just run through this in like 15 seconds if I wanted to, but I want to get this achievement. There is a reasonable element of achievement hunting in this game, for sure. There's some very difficult achievements that one is going to have to deal with. It looks like I'm going to do it, but it's going to be very close here. Like, just beating the game on Dante Must Die, I imagine, is going to be difficult as hell. Even Son of Sparta, I played like one level of that, and I died a couple of times on the first level. So if you're looking for increased difficulty, you can absolutely... get it in this game. Like, when I say it's easy, I'm only saying it's easy with reference to the normal mode. If you're looking for a real challenge, you can still get that real challenge in this game. But if you're hoping that normal mode is going to punish you the same way, you know, the original Devil May Cry punished you 10 years ago, if that's your introduction to the franchise, I'm not going to necessarily say you're going to be disappointed, but normal is almost like an easy mode, I feel like, for this game. And most of the times that I've died, it hasn't been from dying from enemies. It's actually just been dying from, like, fucking up jumping puzzles. But anyway, we are getting ready to do this boss fight here. This is going to be a fairly long video, but that's okay. This is going to be our first kind of major multi-stage boss fight of the game. We're going to be fighting the succubus, who is creating... She's basically the slurm worm, in that she creates the secret ingredient for the soda that is mind-controlling everybody. This is like literally the plot of that Futurama episode, is it not? We do have some more upgrades. Again, at this point, I have so many upgrades, I don't even know what to do with them. I'm just dumping them into things that I don't even really use. We have all these moves like, there's a move list, almost the same as a fighting game, but I basically only mash Y, and at least on normal mode, like left trigger, right trigger, Y, and combinations of X and B, this allows us, or allowed me, as you saw in that last little combat spell that we had, to get a triple S rank, at least on normal mode. Again, probably more difficult as you move along here. Now, again, I would love to skip over this, but unfortunately, since the game has unskippable cutscenes, I'm gonna have to show off the story here.
I'm your prime date, you ugly sack of shit. You missed. My name, by the way, is Dante.
Dante, son of Spada, and Eva,
By the way, the game's pretty gross sometimes. You know, get used to that. I kind of like it, though.
Has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
You want to kill me? You can't kill me. I'm 1,200 years old.
You don't look a day over 12,000.
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
Alright, so the boss fight's about to get started here after that barrage of fuck yous. That's actually some of the funniest dialogue in the game, in my opinion, anyway. I'm just trying to remember how this boss fight goes. Alright, every boss has like a big glowing fuck me eye that you have to attack. It's funny because a little later in the game you're fighting a boss and the person you're with is like, I don't understand how we can kill that guy, and Dante's like, really, man? Like, do you see that big red glowing eye? We're just gonna wait for the next attack here, and then the eye will be exposed. It's gonna throw up all over the ground, I think, which means we're gonna come over here. A lot of the bosses have some element of platforming as well as combat involved. And the bosses are all multi-stage, which is cool too. So we are going to be dealing with, as you can see, that health bar, you know, initially starts in the white and then goes into yellow. But bosses also all have like these stun phases, which is always funny to me in video games when that happens. I think we have to get out of here now. Yeah, the boss just decides like, you know what? I'm just going to lay down for a minute. I'm a little bit sleepy. So I'm just going to continue hacking away here. I always find it funny when bosses like trash talk after getting their asses handed to them. Yeah, she's vomiting, so we're gonna get out of here. Just once I'd like to hear a boss, this has probably happened in some video game that I'm just not familiar with, but just once I'd like to hear a boss actually be like, wow, that really fucking hurt. I underestimated this guy. He must have played this game before. Alright, so I believe we've knocked out our first bar of power, which is gonna mean that we're gonna have to, you know, kick her in the face. Dante does a lot of kicking demons in the face in this game, but you know what? I can get behind that. A good demon face kicking, there's nothing wrong with that. And we have to pull these down. That's another thing that factors into a lot of these boss fights, is using your grappling hooks to pull on parts of these enemies. So she's gonna unleash a string of profanity at us, and then we're gonna kind of run around here and basically do the same thing over again. So again, a lot of platforming elements. That's the thing that I think is going to divide most people. Like, on the outset, it seems like the thing that's going to divide most people is Dante's new appearance and demeanor. Again, I'm not sure how new the actual demeanor is. But the thing that's actually going to divide opinion, I think, is the kind of frequency of jumping puzzles in this game. I really didn't expect it. I mean, I haven't played a character action game all the way through in a long time, so this just might be like my, again, early 2000s bias. But suffice it to say that it was very surprising for me, the degree in this combat game that you're not actually doing combat, if that makes sense. So far so good here. She's gonna throw up, so we're just gonna run away. And so far this has been a very easy boss fight. And, you know, the boss fights in the game usually are not necessarily difficult. This is one of the easier ones. But they're usually not that difficult once you figure out the pattern. But figuring out that pattern can take you some time. Most of the times when I've died and ended up using those gold orbs to revive myself have been situations where I just can't figure out a boss's pattern. Particularly, not to spoil anything, but I found the final boss really annoying for that. Can I see her? Oh, I gotta get over here. Hopefully she stays down long enough for me to do this. There we go. I didn't realize I had to be on the left side platform. That makes a lot of sense, though. How you feel about the dialogue in this game, I think is largely going to depend on A, your sense of humor, and B, your kind of tolerance for juvenile humor. It's the kind of thing where, like, it doesn't really appeal to me on a basal level. Like, when she says, "you disgusting fuck child," I'm not like, oh, she said fuck. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? It could be worse. I've seen games with more offensive writing than that. I would rather a game go like this route and take 100% juvenile rather than like try to be serious and fail. I actually am just gonna have to stand up here, I guess. Oh no, she's not gonna throw up. I really thought she was gonna throw up there, and I was just gonna have to weather the storm basically. And again, anytime you see a red orb, you're gonna be pulling something out. So we're gonna pull this lady out from her slurm machine, and that is gonna be the end of that. Although the boss fight is not totally over yet. So again, yeah, 20 levels, you're going to be dealing with 4 or 5 of these boss fights. 2 of them in particular, and believe me, if you get this game, you're going to know which ones they are. 2 of them in particular are really entertaining, and as I was playing them, and Kate was watching me play them, we were both like, wow, that's really cool, actually. Like, they've done some interesting stuff with this. So we are going to wait for her to bust open here. Again, I didn't want to spoil anything for you, but, you know, it's going to be spoiled over the course of the video anyway. So yeah, she does come back. A lot of bosses have similar phases to this, and then we're gonna have to do some like serious platforming elements to try to avoid falling into this propeller of doom. And again, that's an example of a fairly small loading screen there that does happen sometimes. Now I've forgotten what we're supposed to do, but basically, when it comes to boss fights, pretty much just look for red and blue orbs whenever you find yourself in a difficult position. I've fallen into the lava like 50 times. While dealing with this lady. Yeah, there we go. It's not really lava, I guess. It's technically the slurm secret ingredient. Or virility, I guess. So we're gonna have to redo this boss fight. And every time you die from a platform or a jumping puzzle going awry, you get a little bit of health taken off, but you don't actually die. And that's one of the things I feel is different. I can't remember, but I felt like in the original Devil May Cry, it was like, if you fall down, you are fucked. So, don't fall down, I guess. So we're just going to pull on her again here, and I think this is going to be the end of the boss fight. Oh, just a second. I guess I got to do this angel lift over here. And then, now this is going to be the end of the boss fight. So we're just going to cut her up here. F you, lady. I drink Pepsi. I actually don't drink Pepsi. I'm not much of a soda guy myself because I worry that stuff like this is going to happen in the factory. Viewer beware, this is pretty gross. In any case, now that is done. Does he have a snappy one-liner? Yeah, he does. Of course he does. Alright, so now we're going to get all these weird tentacles coming out of our arms. Oh, this is where we get the gauntlets. Yeah, there's no real explanation for the increased weaponry. It's kind of just like Mega Man. It's like, destroy a boss, get a power. Please don't put me through another cutscene. I just want to end the video at this point. I think I've said my piece on it adequately. But we are probably going to have to deal with another cutscene as we leave here. Is that President Will Smith? Alright. This would probably be a good time to end the video. This is our principal villain, and as you know, like in Hitman, fat, old, bald dudes are the most evil of all. But in any case, this is super gross. This is his second in command, his demon whore, basically. His words, not mine. In any case, thank you guys for watching this Let's Look At of DmC / Devil May Cry. Get it, slash. In any case, it's an interesting game for sure. I think this game's going to give a lot of people something to talk about. It's probably going to divide opinion, I think, but it's not nearly as bad as the initial reaction on the internet to like the reveal would have you believe. The action is fun. Major complaints, not enough of the action. Way too heavy-handed on the story, way too many cutscenes, and I guess normal difficulty's a little too easy. A little lack in enemy variety, but the standard kind of like frenetic, I hate to say it for like the third time, combat is still fun. Like chaining enemies together, getting sick combos going is still a lot of fun. But overall, is this a game that if you're not a fan of the franchise, you should go out and pick up? Probably not, in all likelihood. But if you are a fan of the franchise and you don't consider it sacrilege, the changes that have happened to Dante, you might be interested in picking this up. Again, 8 to 10 hours for one playthrough, so it might be more of a rental if such a service still exists near you. But if you're interested in playing it through multiple times, and it is rewarding to play it through multiple times, despite the unskippable cutscenes, it does allow you to get higher ranks on levels because you gain those abilities that you can unlock in harder difficulties, of course. In any case, I will have a review up probably at exactly the same time that this Let's Look At has gone up, so feel free to check that out if you want a more scripted opinion, more concise. But if you wanted some raw gameplay, hopefully this hooked you guys up. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.